Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Kissy. So, I wanted to bring this conversation to the table in regards to partnerships. Coming from the Pluto and Libra generation, myself, I believe that the lessons, the karmic lessons that we have learned when it comes to love are relevant and pertinent for the Libra and Scorpio generation, and so on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my perception in regards to our soulmate, karmic, and our twin flame. In a sense, it's a differentiation, but these are different energies that can actually play out archetypically in one person, one actual being. So there's only ever really three energies. You'll have the karmic energy, which is the energy that has been there before, or that was there before you came along, and your basically your, I don't want to say familiarity, and your familiarity with that energy, because it's so familiar, yet it's familiar in a negative way, and it's something that you may not be able to recognize until you're out of it. And I'll get a little more, I'll explain it a little more clearly in a minute. Then that's one type of energy, the familiar that was there before you even arrived, so to speak. It's like you arrived there and you realize this energy has always been there. And it feels like you stumble on it mostly when you're in it, only because it's different, it's new, or it's as familiar as it is, you can't seem to get a grip on it, or you can't seem to quite understand it or learn what the lesson is of it, because you're either too enmeshed in it, too involved in it, or you're too blinded by it, okay? It's too much going on that you can't separate enough from it to see it for what it is, to gather intel, so to speak, into the matter. So that's a karmic energy. Then there is what you would consider the new energy, the different energy, right? But that energy, as long as you're constantly feeding it, it grows and grows and grows. And you'll find that you can feed it forever, that you can it will grow infinitely. But you'll never feel like you're quite getting the fruit of it. Like the more it grows, the further from you it gets. So that's an energy that, and to be honest, when I received the information, when the idea first came into mind to my consciousness, it was a lot more poetic and eloquent than I am explaining. But the moment I come across to express it, it loses a lot of it, because it's like it's in the moment. And what I mean by that is, let me try to clarify once again this point. There's only ever really three energies. And think of it this way, in partnerships. You have someone that's very familiar and feels like home, but tends to be lessons to learn. These individuals are what we gravitate to if we're unhealed. These are the people that resemble the energies that we have in relation to our own parents, that manifest in our partnerships and subsequently into our children and subsequently into our environment if we don't see the seed of the energy that you keep tripping on, kind of thing, okay? So that could be a relationship or a type of person that you keep attracting. That doesn't work for you. You keep falling for the same type of person and keep getting the same result. The result being you end up hurt. The result being you end up confused. The result being you end up broke. Or the result being you end up in loss or in trouble. The result is you end up depressed or in a hole or in some bad situation where you're feeling like a victim. That is a karmic energy. That is the energy that is familiar because you don't grow into purely healthy environments, but we also don't grow into purely unhealthy environments either. So there's a lot of things that we're not familiar with, that we're exposed to, that we're not familiar with, and then we have to become familiar with before we realize it's not in my interest or it's not to my benefit. So it's like a man will fall in love with a woman or a woman will fall in love with a man that provides the needs that they didn't receive when they were infants, for example. And it's true. You attract someone that feels like the comfort of your mother or father, whether that's a positive or negative relationship that you have to them. So it's like, if you got very comfortable with being dismissed, or you got very comfortable with being yelled at, or you got very comfortable with being controlled, or very comfortable with being ignored, or comfortable with money getting thrown at you, or comfortable with being, lied to. All those negative type of things, if you got very comfortable with those things because it was part of your upbringing, then it plays out in your partnerships in a very negative way. You attract people that do those things to you, and then you just keep falling victim. So you think it's a person by person thing, but it's not a person by person thing. So it might seem like a long road to experience this in crumbs, so to speak. So this one person may lie to you on this small scale. And on that small scale, it doesn't hurt that bad. But then another person will do that same type of lie and it'll hurt a little bit more. And so the hurt can grow, or the hurt can be so extreme, but it still occurs. And it can start off extreme and diminish as it goes, simply because you're no longer surprised by the pain of it. You're no longer, it's like you receive that either way from whatever side of the spectrum, whether you've never experienced it and then all of a sudden now you get to this culmination of, wow, I've experienced this at the largest range. So it's like the one character or the one energy or the one thing that you trip up on constantly when it comes to your relationships. Like, why do your friendships end? Why do you end up hurt? Why do your love interests fade? Why? Because ultimately, things end. Relationships end. Dynamics end. Passions end. That doesn't mean that an entire connection ends. So therefore, if what makes someone karmic, I might have to reconsider doing a part 2 and just starting fresh with another version, because I think like this is extremely convoluted. But who cares, right? I'll just go with it. So here it is. You'll have your karmic energy, and until you're healed, like you recognize your negative pattern. You have to recognize your negative patterns. Once you recognize your negative patterns, now you're willing to be open to new experience. And when you're open to new experience, that can be, you'll have the confidence if you overcame your negative patterns and you feel comfortable that you're ready for a new experience. Like where you are, you're no longer really growing because all you see is a repeat pattern. It's like once you see the repeat pattern and things aren't changing, you're like, okay, this is no longer growing, it's staying stagnant. It's time to move into a new territory, or time to move into a new experience, or time to move into a new version of experiencing my life. And you dive in, but you're never going to be sure if this is going to be a repeat of that old energy, but you're not afraid of it anymore because you've overcome that. So now you're challenged and you might feel confident or you might feel excited about the challenge. And so you're open to what lessons to learn from that challenge. So a partnership can eventually become stagnant if it doesn't continuously grow and shift with the times, grow and shift with the energies. It's like it's what they would call then the negative positive, or the extreme positive can become negative because you're like a cog on a wheel, constantly turning. You're constantly having to change just to be appreciated. You see, you can't be depreciated if you're constantly growing. It's like you have to get appreciated because it is, but at the extent of what? So burnout, right? Eventually. Constant motion, to identify with the constant motion or the constant changing. It's like equivalent to a relationship that has to constantly keep it fresh. So imagine that constant positivity looks like changing partners all the time when people aren't fun, or when people aren't happy, or when people aren't doing good or right, or making your image look, if you're not progressing in your company, or if you're not progressing in your networking, or if you're not getting the recognition and validations that you're expecting to get out of the world every time you put another notch underneath your belt for that thing that you're so celebrated for in your partnership. So if it's you always get the perfect person, that perfect person has to consistently be upgrading and remaining like that's how actresses and actors must feel every time they're being set up to compete for most, handsome this, most, when it's things of vanity, external appearances, it's a constant maintaining or keeping up. And so it's not realistic either. You'll never get enough, basically. People will never get enough of you if you let them. And so you'll have that extreme. And so you eventually realize, okay, I can chase that forever. I can chase the new forever. Or it's like, this is what you feel the options would be when it comes to relationships. You can stay in a relationship that's stagnant and doesn't grow, and just like be bored out of your mind because this is it. This is what it is. Okay, it's always going to stay here, and this is not fun for me, and no matter what I do, I can't make this fun with this person. So you start to make it fun for yourself. And when you're having fun with yourself, whether that's recreational activities, or whether that's entertaining others, or whether that's whatever it is, It comes across as getting your needs filled that partnership can no longer fulfill. So that's why you separate from the idea that it's a person that has to fulfill any of your needs. So your fun cannot come from a partner. That's what makes it karmic. When you expect that the partner is supposed to give you something, that the partner is supposed to make it fun, that the partner is supposed to make you feel happy, or that the partner is supposed to make you feel whole. The partner isn't supposed to make you feel anything. You either feel something with the partner or you feel nothing with the partner. You either feel things you like with the partner or you feel things you don't like with the partner. And then that's how you determine. Even if this doesn't grow in terms of like, if this never changes, am I happy with the way it is? So that's growth. That's you saying, okay, I'm willing to accept this person as they are and just love them because I love them. So you're not complaining about their ways. You're not arguing about it. You're not miserable about it. You're happy because you're happy. And you love that person is with you there in your life. It doesn't matter if that person has a good day or a bad day. It doesn't matter if that person has awkwardness or no awkwardness, or if they have energy or no energy. It doesn't matter. You're not dependent on their energy. You love them for who they are. So that's the place that you want to be in a partnership, where there is that I enjoy you for the sake of enjoying you. I love you for the sake of loving you. With no conditions means the conditions come from dependency. So when you have no dependency, you have no conditions. You either accept them as they are or you don't. And there shouldn't be a problem if they don't meet, your standard, if there's such a thing. In other words, you have a preference. Like, yeah, anybody can be your partner and check off boxes and say, I fulfill your financial needs. I fulfill your economic stability. I fulfill your ideal visual prospects or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, a person can meet all these things, but you either feel for them or you don't feel for them. And even when you can't connect and I'm not talking about on an emotional level, I'm talking about like it's what you would consider the purest form of desire, I think. It's like there's no reason why that makes it super special or that makes it radical or out of this world. It's like it feels more like a knowing. You just know this is the person I want to spend my time with, or this is the person I want to learn and get to know. And there's a unique quality that is in that. So when I say that there's like three energies, you're going to notice that a karmic energy is always going to make you, when it's going to bring pain. A karmic energy is an energy, what you would call that, I guess you can say. What people refer to as karmic energies or toxic energies. Let me not say karmic. What people would consider toxic energies, obviously toxic, are the things that you have not resolved, that you're triggered by. That the only reason these people can trigger is because whatever it is that you're holding on to them for is something that you haven't healed from some lack that you may have had in your upbringing. And when you address it, it's either going to bring you back to some dynamic with your mother or some dynamic with your father. As soon as you realize and accept the that there's no amount of validation you can get. You can chase that forever, and that there is also no one in the world that is obligated to you, not even your own parent. Then you can release any expectation when it comes to relationships. And then all you engage with, because you're going to attract familiar energies, and you're going to attract unfamiliar energies. The familiar energies are going to be positive familiar or negative familiar. You may consider them positive at first and quickly realize they were negative, because you fall for the illusion, and then quickly the illusion falls apart, and then you see it for what it is, and you're like, oh, this is a repeat of that, or oh, this is just that, or okay. So you either consider, with this person the dynamic can change, so I'll give it an opportunity. I'll try it differently. I'll move differently. I'll act in a new way to see if the outcome is better. And it's not better in a selfish way. A better for me is, can this dynamic not be karmic? Can this dynamic actually flourish? And then you behave differently in the dynamic in hopes that the connection stops repeating a negative pattern and flourishes. But how long do you try that for before you say it's unwilling to change or grow? So move on to the next experience in life. And sometimes moving on to the next experience in life doesn't involve growing with another person by your side. It just involves enjoying the growth that you've experienced within yourself, and enjoying your life, and doing all those things you would like to do with a partner, and doing all those things that you would want to have, and enjoying the experience of being who you are in your skin, in your own authority, with no one to have to please, with no one to have to validate, or with no one's expectations upon you, and vice versa. Giving yourself the space to recognize where you stand firm in who you are, where you may be stubbornly unwilling to change a negative, or where you can stop seeking the validation of a higher, more bigger, what's the word? Output, so to speak. Because that in itself is like we said, it'll never be enough. It's like, okay, the ultimate this, the ultimate that, it's like, okay, that's great and all, but there's something to be said about the fulfillment of being in the moment and enjoying what you've already created, and cultivating and nurturing what's already been created, and just really sit with that and really enjoy that and really be present with that. That right there is when they say stop and smell the roses. That right there is when you find yourself with a partner that that there'll never be what is it? Like there'll never be a moment that you can't imagine that person not participating with you. You know what I mean? Like there's no scenario where that person cannot participate with you, like in your journey. Like, yes, there are moments that you go within, But even in those within moments, the presence of them is with you. So it's like it doesn't matter. That's the experience of the twin flame. Okay, I feel like I've gone, berserks with my conversation, but hopefully some point gets across. The twin flame to me is the most versatile because it brings karmic resonances. When you connect with your twin flame, you will see aspects of your karmic energies. If you're still healing, or if you've already healed, you'll see the outcome of the healed version of those karmic energies within that partner. So there's that understanding, like we get each other. We know our potentials. We know where this can lead, and we know what we can do with this, and we know how we can get, because we understand each other's energies very familiar. So we check ourselves, we check each other. That's healed. But unhealed, your twin flame will instigate the activation of the healing of those patterns. And you'll see them play out in your family line. That's why you have ancestral healing. You'll see them play out in your dynamics. You'll see them play out like strings attached to a larger web of realities until you can kind of like cohesively release yourself from the neural networks that are attached to the memories of those energies within your energetic field. And by that, I mean the triggers that you get no longer trigger you. You're not being moved by those things that would have before hurt you. It's like, if I have a cut and you hit me where that cut is, or a bruise, I'm going to flinch, or I'm going to yell, or I'm going to hurt, or I'm going to be defensive, or I'm going to be, protective, however you see it. The same way it is with our psyche, the same way it is with our emotions, the same way it is even with our self-perception and the things that triggered our sense of self, that triggered us into questioning, am I who I thought I was? And that can be shocking to the system when a relationship that you thought was a reflection turns out that it's a negative reflection, or you realize it's a positive reflection. Like the illusion, when it gets shattered, is not always negative. Sometimes it's a relief when an illusion is shattered and you see things for what they are, and they're actually very beautiful, and they're actually amazing, and they're actually and you're hopeful that there's more illusions to be shattered, because you just want to experience the pureness of this being, of this connection, that it just is. It's like a synergetic pace, I guess. I don't know how to put it, but it has a flow that's with ease. A flow with ease is like I guess that's what we can call fixed water, right? Or not fixed, because we're saying it's a flow with ease. And fixed, well, I want to say that it is fixed, because I don't want to think that fixed equals only stuck. Fixed can be this this is the flow that works. Here, set it to this. Boom. Like the temperature. You set the temperature. This is a perfect temperature. Here. And it's a perfect flow for you. You know what I mean? And this is what this person is like. There's no need for this like erratic, constant shifting and changing and moving and growing and da-da-da-da. The hecticness that can just expire because it's overwhelmed. I like saying it with the emphasis on the H. Overwhelmed. Because that's how like exaggerated it is. But then there's that other dynamic where it's like dwelling and unmoving anymore, where it's like finding that perfect middle balance, I guess it is, you would say, is like finding the perfect flavor for you, finding the perfect temperature for you. That's I guess you would say it's the quality of the dynamic is the most important thing to have, because that is what that's why you want good quality. Everything it should be, when you measure it in terms, it should be in terms of quality. Is the quality of this thing healthy for me, good for me? Do I see the consistent growth that isn't overdone? Because of course we want exponential growth in things, but the expectation of exponential growth at a constant rate is it's ridiculous. And I think a lot of people kind of think that way in terms of their, like, look at consumption, how people consume content now. It's like, what? You'll never get filled. It's always going to be like, next, more, gimme. Isn't that what addiction is? Like, when you're, like, look at me with, like, Game of Thrones, just watching it. I learned a lot about myself watching Game of Thrones, because in terms of desire, in terms of the juiciness of something so good, like, you're watching all this drama, but the storyline just like gets better and better, and the plot twist just, it's like the shock. I mean, it's like a roller coaster ride. It's the ups and the downs, right? But it's, and the pains and the betrayals, they feel good to go through those motions when you're separated from them, when it's just for entertainment purposes only. Entertainment purposes only. But in real life, to go through that, it's exhausting. In real life, to go through that, it's so painful. In real life, to go through that, it's your life. It's playing with your life. So you can't take your personal life so lightly that you allow people to play with it, with your emotions, to play with your head, your time, your energy. Your life is valuable, extremely valuable. So when you have someone that comes into your life like a soulmate will never harm you, will never hurt you, will care for you deeply. But a soulmate is so detached sometimes, and so godly-like sometimes, that it's there as a presence of like a security blanket, but it's sometimes not participating in this life that you value so much, or that you should want to value so much and create beautifully and experience holistically and experience it masterfully with someone else. It should be that intentional. It should be that expanded. It should be that purposeful. It should be that beautiful. And it should be that exciting every single day to wake up and love your life and experience the people in your life. And that even in those moments that aren't perfect or those moments that aren't great, there's a certain level of detachment about the grace that you would provide to others for still growing, but enjoying the process of your patience with dealing with people. Enjoy the process of your transformation and how you express yourself every time with a little more class, or every time with a little more elegance, or every time with a little more eloquence. Did I say the same thing twice? But the point is that self-development should be something that everyone does consciously or would want to do to develop their skills, to be a version of themselves that they were not able to be before, to grow into themselves and see how great they can become in terms of anything that challenges them. Challenge anything that you're challenged by, take it on and enjoy the process of growing from it. My daughter does not like school very much. But lately, whatever is driving her to want, to desire the process of meeting the expectations of her grade, so to speak, whatever is motivating her right now, it's nice to see her being challenged by things and taking on the challenge, not just passively ignoring it and not caring about whether or not, like there was a disinterest in learning, in education. Now to see her showing an interest for whatever the motivation might be, it may not be that serious, but it's still an experience that she gets to have about her own development, about her own limitations. And was it really that hard, or was it really that bad, or was it really that difficult? Maybe it isn't. Maybe we make things hard on ourselves. Maybe we challenge ourselves more than we need to. And then we get tired or bored ourselves of how we do something. So maybe it's not the thing itself that bores you. It's how you're going about it that needs to change. So have fun discovering what that could possibly be. Play with the idea of how can I look at this differently so that I actually enjoy this. And to discover what it is that you enjoy and what you can enjoy on a long-term basis, it has more to do with how you're perceiving something. And once a perception is shifted and you can find comfort and joy and enjoyment in your experience, and then to appreciate and value another who can synergistically go through that process with you because they're in their own zone about that process. And it just so happens that it feeds the other in a balanced way. You see, it's the reciprocity of purpose that's pleasurable. So whether or not my point came across clearly or not, I hope you enjoyed the message. I'll come back with another soon. Take care.